Hello everyone, today you will have a fantastic opportunity. For free, you'll be able to have insights on how a 10 big blind per 100 winner is able to beat these games by so much. How does he prepare for the games, and are you able to do the same to be able to also crush the stakes you're playing? This student has just finished 10 sessions with me, and in the 10th session that lasted 3 hours, we verified in detail whether he is implementing his strategies well. Let's have a look at this hand to see whether you are also able to find this play. So the hand is Queen 6 suited, we are on the button against the big blind calls, it's a single raise board, and the board is Jack 7-3 two-toned, Jack of clubs, 7 and 3 of hearts.
Flop, okay, you bet 50% right?
Yes.
It's always good to quickly talk about the flop, because on these type of boards you can develop several strategies and with each student agree what is going to be best for them. Here the 50% strategy is fine, but you could just simplify to having a big and a small size, or if you're a very beginner, if you're betting very frequently small, it's not going to be a disaster. Flop strategies don't have that much of a change in terms of EV for your range, but it's important that you know what you're doing. So if you're having a big bet strategy, you're not just going to bet range big here on this board, for example. There are different hands that prefer different kind of actions, and overall you just need to develop a range that makes somewhat sense. Do you always want to bet your overpairs? Do you always want to bet your second pairs, so your sevens? Are there any incentives to bet them on this board? What about your draws? How many draws are you betting, how many are you checking, and why? With the Queen 6 that my student had, you can see that both actions are fine. A c-bet for any size is fine, so it's hard to just in isolation, looking at the size, tell whether he's playing well on the flop or not. But of course, given I know him, I know that what he's doing on the flop is making sense. Here he chose the 50% size. On the turn, the 5 of spades, he went for the overbet against the opponent. Would you have gone for the overbet on this 5? You can see in the solution that it is the correct strategy. Now, what do I want to see from my student? Not just he used an overbet, great, that's okay. We first need to know he's theoretically aware of how the spots works. So for people who just start with concepts, it can be easy to mix things up, like thinking the 5 brings a straight, so the straight is not changing and therefore you're not going to bet big. That would be a wrong concept here. Look at the hands that you're wanting to bet primarily. You see by the filters, your good top pair plus, so the best top pairs and the overpair 2-pair set straights are always needing to bet in position here, and the medium strength hands are going to be more of a check back. Important to recognize what ranges look like after the opponent calls on the flop, and your incentives to be betting with the stronger hands here. Like this, you will know the sizings and the frequencies that you're supposed to be betting. Now, equally important, what are the weaker hands that you want to barrel on the turn? Is it just flush draws, maybe some sort of straight draws, or can you also bet random things here?
You can also barrel, and you can check back some draws.
Showing you a bit of the original footage, just so you see that those are the topics we discussed, and in the end you'll see a little bit more about the students' results and how the students play. But what I was pointing out there is that in position our barreling strategy, of course, is not only equity driven, so it's not like we just need either good high equity, what people call semi-bluffs, so strong draws. We are also concerned about what is our opponent folding here. So you'll see that the 8, 9 and 10 are maybe not as great as having a random Queen 2, for example, that can barrel frequently here. And the Queen 6 that my student had is also a very fine barrel. So the overbet strategy he chose and also the overbet with his specific hands are fine. The concepts understood, which is very important for me. To give you a hint, in spots where people are over defending, you need a little bit more of equity, and when people are over folding or have to overfold, you are not necessarily looking for a high equity hand, you're looking for hands that don't block his folds. So here, what is he calling on the flop and then folding on the turn? Clubs, backdoor flush draw hands that he calls on the flop, on the turn he could be folding, so maybe clubs are not the best suits to have when barreling the turn. Do you see many hands containing an 8 or a 9, like pocket 8s, pocket 9s, that he could be calling on the flop or folding on the turn, gut shots as well? There you have it. Those hands are less good, and then the hands that are not blocking the folds here are probably nicer to bet. And of course a flush draw can be bet, but the EV of a flush draw is the same between betting and checking it back, and your range doesn't want all of your range of your flush draws to be bet here. And this is why you need to divide the flush draws, check them back a little bit as well, and bet the other times.
And then, when the river brings the 9, you need to understand what's going on with your range. What do you think you're betting for value here on the river? The bet sizes of your bluffs will be depending on the bet sizes of your strong hands. So what are your strongest hands here?
So as you can see from the session, on the river we just have queen high and need to decide whether to bluff it, and if so, for what size. In this game, the strategy is driven around the value part of our range, so we need to first identify what we're wanting to bet, and for this it's different to distinguish between in and out of position. The amount of times we have to be good when called is different depending on the position, so in or out of position, and given we're in position in this time, we can check back many hands instead of betting them too thin for value. So what's the thinnest you'd go for value here? Is it the best jack, so ace jack? Is it pocket queens? Do you bet pocket kings and aces? Yes, we bet them. So those type of hands, over pairs or even ace jack, are bet. But would you really be wanting to shove those hands here? So see that the 9 brings more straights, there's 2 pair, there's sets. Do you really want to be shoving pocket queens here? 200% pot bet. Not really. But if instead you use a normal bet size like 75, 80, 85%, so something below pot, you will get called by enough worse for the EV of betting this hand be higher than just checking it back. So your range needs 2 sizes. With the top of your range like straights or even sets, you are really incentivized after polarizing on the turn to go all in here. With other parts of your range, you're just preferring a normal bet size. So your value part of the range will have 2 sizes, all in and a normal 84% bet size according to this GT Wizard sim. So what is the size you're going to be bluffing with? 84% or all in?
Yeah, I can use the bluff, I think, or
Exactly.
So when we have queen 6, you see the strategy here. Sometimes we go all in, sometimes we use normal bet sizes, because that's also the sizes we use with our value. It wouldn't make any sense to always shove straights and some sets, but never bluff all in. So with the queen 6, of course, the all in is fine. This is theoretical okay. And on this spot, it's not really a spot where we should deviate much from theory. Overall, our game plan in this line is going to be to bluff enough, or even a bit more. But this board, admittedly, so the 5 turn and the 9 river, are not the cards where you get the highest overflow from population after the turn overbet. It's still not good to just not bluff here against good opponents at these stakes. So if he chooses all in, or if he chooses a normal bet size, it's okay. With this hand, there's not much checking back though, as you can see here. So what did my student choose to do?
all in, all in.
So this hand looks like a fold to me. I mean, a question on the turn he had the gut shot as well. But okay, on the river is a fold, at least not a clear call. So he's calling you down lightly. Could be only in this spot, could be only be on this spot. But against these player types, adjustment.
So this is what happened on the river. We got called down lightly. Unfortunately happens, especially on this board. Not a problem, our student played well here. But when you see a showdown like this, you need to make adjustments. You don't only rely on MDA, so the stats from the general population, or the stats you have on your opponent. You also rely on information you see on the showdown, because on the showdown, a lot is revealed about opponents, and you need to take the right conclusions and the right adjustment. That is what we proceeded about talking, how to adjust against this player. This student has good fundamentals. We started the coaching in early May and he was already beating the games he was playing. In May we focused on theoretical concepts mostly, and then I recommended him some time to just get sample because his volume is not very high, and we analyzed the game a little bit more. I went off for some holidays as well, and then we returned to the coaching and finished the game plan, and last time was the 10th session. So we went over his results to see whether everything is going well.
Let's see how the last several months have been since we started working together.
I'll now talk over the footage, but basically what we did is he showed me this graph starting from 1 month after they started the coaching. In about 160k hands he had 5 big blinds per 100. This break-even stretch in the middle though is including zoom hands as well, so it's zoom hands and regular tables. And then we proceeded to talk about the importance of table selecting, which we had already talked about but just reinforced. he went to show me the graph of regular tables, and you see he had 10 big blinds per 100 in about 60,000 hands. So for him, for everyone, you could be a break-even player at Zoom. Of course, there's variance in 60-70k hand graphs. So of course, in the regular tables, he could only have 6 big blinds. In the Zoom, he could have 2, whatever. But the key point is, you will have higher win rates on regular tables, especially if you table select well, if you select good sides to play on. You can also achieve higher volume on regular tables if you play several tables. So we proceeded to discuss what sides are good, rate back deals and these kind of things, because I think it's important to also help my students with taking decisions on where to play. I have a lot of experience playing on many, if not all sides, traditional sides, so I can help you with understanding where you probably have the highest hourly. On top of this, I take the time, so this session lasted 3 hours, to really discuss whatever you wish to discuss in a session. What is important to reinforce as well is that the student, despite already being a winning player when started, was happy to review fundamentals, to see concepts, and then work on the exploitative game plans like I usually recommend. So, especially if you aren't that advanced yet, do you really want to start reviewing hands and finding mistakes on the river if you don't understand the basic concepts first? So my recommendation is work on the fundamentals, then we will together work on an exploitative game plan that will work for the side that you choose to play on. If you want help with this, hire me as a coach. Here are my contacts. Thanks for watching.